Everyone in the old school Renaissance, aka the OSR, preaches rulings over rules. It's the ultimate mantra of the hobby. We say it to new players like it's a magic spell that solves every problem. But if you actually sit down at the table and try to run a game, that mantra feels less like a solution and more like a riddle. A viewer recently reached out to the tavern with a question that gets to the heart of this. They said, everyone preaches about rulings, but what does a ruling actually look like? Based on what? Nobody explains it. Is it a percentage, a d6? How do I determine if a goblin can break down a door the PC's reinforced? Is it one round, two, a 1 in 6 chance? Awesome question. And that viewer is 100% right. Most people talk about the philosophy of rulings, but nobody shows you the engine under the hood. You're left behind the screen wondering if you're being a fair referee or just a mean DN making things up as you go. In this video, I'm going to stop the preaching. I'm going to show you the invisible math behind the screen. I'm going to give you 3 mechanical procedures I use to make fair, fast, and consistent rulings for monsters that don't have ability scores. By the end of this, you won't just know why to make a ruling. You know exactly how to make a ruling. Now, I've spent over 20 years in law enforcement, much of that in internal affairs. And if there's one thing I've learned about procedures, is that they only work if they are consistent. If the rules change every time you apply them, nobody trusts the system. The same thing applies to your gaming table. I remember a session, oh God, decades ago, where my party was trapped in a crumbling tomb. They had, I don't know, a dozen hit points between them, a horde of skeletons on their tail. They slammed the stone door shut, and they told me, we're jamming our iron spikes into the hinges. We're bracing it with our 10-foot poles. And they looked at me with a mix of hope and horror and terror. And what did I do? I paused. I started flipping through multiple rule books, looking for door breaking or structural integrity or strength checks for undead. What was the strength of the skeleton? Because admittedly, this was during my 2E days, where we kind of thought there were skill checks for everything. And we started beginning with that there's a rule for everything. In that 30-second, minute-long pause, the tension evaporated. The players stopped being in the tomb and started being at the table watching a guy flip through multiple books. And that was the moment I realized that a fast, logical ruling is infinitely better than a slow official rule. Because in the OSR, procedure isn't just about math, it's the engine of player agency. If they know how the world works, they can make real decisions. If the math is a mystery, they're just guessing. So let's get into the mechanics. Let's look at the viewer's specific example. Goblins versus a reinforced door. In modern games, you look for a strength score for the goblin and a DC for the door, and BX or old school essentials or swords of wizardry or multiple other systems. Goblins don't have strength scores. They have hit dice and an AC. So how do you decide if they break through? First we gotta get the timing right. Breaking a door is not a combat round activity. A round is what, 10 seconds of frantic swinging? You don't break a barred reinforced door in 10 seconds. Breaking a door in BX is a dungeon turn. That's 10 minutes of sustained, grueling effort. This is the first bit of invisible math. All right, if the goblins are trying to get through, they are committing to 10 minutes of banging, splintering wood, and shouting. Now, what's the roll? The D6 is a universal tool for environmental uncertainty in the OSR. So the standard, a normal wooden door is probably a 2 in 6 chance to be forced open. I would rule the PCs reinforced it. They use spikes, poles, furniture, I don't know, dead bodies, whatever. As the ref, I would rule this makes the task significantly harder. That probability is now a 1 in 6. Here's where the invisible math becomes a game mechanic. While the goblins are hammering for that 10-minute turn, I'm rolling a wandering monster check. The players are safe behind the door for now, but they are sitting ducks for anything roaming the halls behind them that hears the racket. If the goblins fail to roll this turn and they keep hammering, that's another 10 minutes. They're making noise. That's another wandering monster check. But now, mind you, if the goblins are on the side with the hallway, well, the wandering monster check could be on their side of the door. But in any case, each turn is another 1/6 of the party's torch burned away. And that is what a ruling looks like. It's not a guess. It's an application of probability. What? 1 in 6. Applied to a unit of time, the turn, and the built-in consequence, the wandering monster. Second question was, how do I determine monster actions if they don't have ability scores? All right. Let's go with an ogre. All right. The ogre wants to topple a stone pillar to crush a fighter. The ogre has 4+1 hit dice. The level 1 fighter has 1 hit die. In the invisible math of the OSR, hit dice is your proxy for ability scores, especially for monsters. It represents the creature's overall weight in the world, its physical mass, its combat prowess, its sheer supernatural presence. So my ruling, if a monster is attempting a feat of strength, its hit dice is significantly higher than the target's level, I probably don't even need to roll. I would rule that it succeeds. Now, the procedure would be, I tell the fighter, the ogre is massive. He slams his shoulder into the pillar, and it's going to come down. You have 1 round to move, where you're taking 2d6 damage. Yeah, sure, you can save for half. But what do? By using hit dice as a guide, you stay consistent. An ogre, 4 hit dice can topple a pillar. A goblin, 1 - 1? Cannot. You don't need a strength score to know a half-ton giant is stronger than a 30-pound pest. You use the hit dice as the logic. Now, what about stealth or perception? Because that's going to come up, right? It always seems to come up when I'm talking with players coming from modern gaming. So, a giant spider doesn't have a skill in stealth, right? Because there's no skills in the stat blocks from BX. So how do you know if it surprises the thief? Now, this is where the conversation happens. A ruling should always be the result of players' actions meeting the world's logic. And here, I'll explain it to you. If the party is just walking down a hallway, all right, you use the standard surprise roll, usually a 1 or 2 on a d6. But the spider is a silent, ceiling-dwelling hunter. So I'd probably rule surprises on a 1 in 3, or 1 through 3, or 1 through 4 chance on a d6 to surprise the party. That's the invisible math of the monster's nature. But wait, what if the thief says, "Oh, I'm not just walking, I'm holding my lantern high, and I'm using my 10-foot pole"? I don't want to hear the tropes about the 10-foot pole. Heard him. I'm using my 10-foot pole, my spear, whatever, to poke at the ceiling webs as we move. Well, now I make a ruling. The player has described a logical action that counters the monster's advantage. In this case, the ruling overrides the dice. I rule the thief spots the spider. No roll needed. A ruling looks like this. And this is key. You reward the player for tactical thinking by removing the randomness of the dice. You don't need a perception versus stealth roll. You just need a logical outcome. So to answer that viewer's questions, a ruling is a decision made by the referee to fill the gap where the rules are silent, based on three things. Probability, use a d6. If it's an unlikely event, 1 in 6. If it's more standard, 2 in 6. Time. Most out-of-combat actions cost 10 minutes. 1 combat turn. 1 dungeon turn, excuse me. That time has a cost in torches and wandering monsters and spell durations. And of course, there's the logic. It's the hit dice and the description. Use the hit dice to measure power and let player descriptions override the need for rolls entirely. When you start looking at the game this way, you stop being the guy who makes things up. You start being the referee. Your players will stop asking, "Can I do this?" and start saying, "I'm going to do this." Because they understand the logic that you, as the ref, are using. So the next time your players bar a door, don't look for a DC. Look at your watch. Tell them, okay, it'll take the goblin to at least a turn to get through. I'm rolling the d6 now, and if I get a 1, they're in. If not, they're still hammering. And I'm rolling for a wandering monster. See, that is the invisible math. It's fair, it's transparent, and most importantly, it keeps the game moving. If you want to see these procedures in action, we'll be starting up some open table sessions soon. They're not going to be broadcast. They will be recorded as we get to the summertime, and probably edit out pieces to show on this channel, but we're not there yet. But you can participate in the open table. Details on the posting section of the tavern. If you've got a specific scenario where you struggle to make a ruling, drop it in the comments. You'll get feedback from me, from other viewers, but we'll talk about the math and see if we can find a procedure that works for your table. Until then, stay safe, keep the dice rolling, God bless, and I'll see you at the tavern. And remember, don't let the rules get in the way of a good game.